One of the most devastating challenges facing the world at the moment is the impact of climate change. Africa, which accounts for only 3% of carbon emissions, thought to be one of the main contributing factors to climate change, is at the receiving end of the impact. Ahead of COP26 in Glasgow in November, the continent will be negotiating for more mitigation financing from the world's superpowers. And UNESCO held its Man and Biodiversity Summit for the first time in Nigeria. All this will be engaging our attention on the program this week. My name is Justin Bemuyana. Welcome you to Africa Weekly. In an effort to encourage positive man's biodiversity activities, UNESCO is pledging for funding to assist African countries. The details of the summit in Nigeria are in this report.
Launched in 1971, UNESCO Man and Biosphere program aims to establish scientific basis for enhancing the relationship between people and the environment. Man and Biosphere program is a platform for cooperation on research and development, ecological restoration, capacity building, and networking to share information, knowledge, and experience on three interlinked issues of biodiversity loss, climate change, and sustainable development. 50 years after, the program has produced 714 biosphere reserves in 129 countries. 85 of the sites are in Africa, 4 of which are located in Nigeria. In the face of the erosion of biological diversity caused mainly by human activities, much more is expected from the global community to meet the United Nations target for 30% of the planet to be covered by protected areas.
We have cleared forests and other natural terrain to create space for urban areas, settlements, agriculture, and industries. In so doing, we have reduced the overall space for wildlife and degraded natural safe space between humans and animals. We must all rise and take the responsibility to restore this human nature, safe space by taking responsible steps to conserve biodiversity and restore lost resources.
We must double our efforts. This is why a few days ago, at the Congress of the International Union for Conservation of Nature, which took place in France, in Marseille, we committed to doubling the protected areas under UNESCO's care by 2030. We also committed to stepping up our efforts to manage these zones, ensuring they are completely effective. And of course, this means creating new protected areas across the globe, especially in Africa.
The 33rd session of the International Coordinating Council of the Man and Biosphere Conference, hosted by Nigeria, is the first to hold on the African continent.
Nigeria has adopted a good number of measures to ensure that it sustainably manages its environment, and these include development of policies on environment, solid waste management, plastic waste management, biosafety policy, gender, and climate change.
Restoration of nature comes with education. A sure and quick way is to put the appreciation and protection of nature in our educational curriculum in schools. If we give the tool to our young generation and equip them with the mindset to protect and restore the harmony of the ecosystem, then they will not repeat our own mistakes.
Nigeria has so far taken steps to reverse biodiversity loss with approval for 10 new national parks in the ecological zones of the country, 2 of which will be designated marine protected areas, among other measures aimed at ensuring a resilient future.
Nigeria is strongly committed to taking bold steps to reverse biodiversity loss and to mitigate climate change. Through the Ministry of Environment, Nigeria joined the Global Ocean Alliance and the High Ambition Coalition for Nature and People, calling for the protection of 30% of the world's land and seas by 2030 to halt the accelerated loss of species and protect vital ecosystems.
The 50th Anniversary Council session of the Man and Biosphere program is expected to maintain the momentum of ecosystem restoration by harnessing the power of education and science to rebuild man's relationship with nature.
Now, West Africa as a regional bloc is not leaving anything to chance ahead of the 2021 COP26 summit coming up in November in Glasgow. What's the agenda for the carbon market and climate change financing? This report gives us an insight.
Article 6 of the Paris Agreement supports international cooperation towards the attainment of nationally determined contributions to promote mitigation and adaptation ambition, enhance public and private sector participation, and enable coordination across instruments. Gathered in this hall are heads of delegation and negotiators, formulating regional positions to build the capacity of West African states to mitigate and adapt to climate change ahead of COP26 in Glasgow.
It is of great importance that West African negotiators come together and understand the pertinent issues, especially as it affects our region.
We are expecting to enhance capacity of the heads of delegations and members on topics that will be discussed during the negotiation during the COP26 in Glasgow.
The West African Alliance on Carbon Markets and Climate Finance also fosters consultation between the African Group of Negotiators, least developed countries, and the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change.
Now joining us to discuss this issue is the Coordinator, West African Alliance on Carbon Markets and Climate Finance. He is Usman Falsa. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Falsa.
Thank you.
Well, now, can you give us your perspective on the level of climate change impact in Africa?
Okay. Thank you for asking this question. Despite the fact that Africa is one of the continents that are less contributing to the greenhouse gas emissions, we are the most vulnerable one. And the impact of climate change can be the rising of temperature, the drought that is very often in our continent, the change in rainfall patterns, and also the climate variability. You can have a lot of rain in some areas, you can have hot seasons, or even snow, like it happens last time in Cameroon. These are some aspects of climate change in our continent, and we have to deal with it because the main impact will be reduction of food security, reduction of water security, and these combined can also engender some problems like immigration that we are facing now. So it's a very critical issue that we need to address.
So ahead of the COP26 in Glasgow, which is around the corner, of course, why is a common front for West Africa important in climate change mitigation financing?
Yes, it's very important because we are not contributing too much to this climate change, but we are facing directly the impact, and our adaptation capacities are very weak, and we need a lot of financing to address this issue. You know, to implement some mitigation projects or adaptation projects, you need a lot of financing. In Africa, we had the opportunity to have a development pathway that is different than developed country. We have a lot of sun, we have wind, we have water resources, and we can use renewable energy to increase our level of production and to also promote productive uses. By using this renewable energy, we have the opportunity to mobilize funding through some mechanism like carbon markets or climate financing. That's why we have strong interest to take these opportunities and to use this incentive to finance our projects and contribute to overall climate mitigation activities.
Okay, now being a stakeholder in the carbon markets and climate finance, basically in this part of the world, in what areas of mitigation do you think Africa would need greater intervention?
First, in the energy sector, we have a lot of potential, as I mentioned earlier. We have a lot of potential in terms of renewable energy, and these sources, these clean sources, can be used for energy access because electricity access in our continent is very low, and we mainly in rural areas, but we have appropriate solution with the renewable energy to increase access to electricity in those areas. The other domain that we can use is the transport area. We can have more cleaner transportation solution in Africa, and we also can promote some nature-based solution like reforesting, like reduction of degraded land, and these are areas that we can focus in order to have mitigation project, and also at the same time to use the opportunities offered by climate financing or carbon financing.
As it is right now, UNESCO is also pledging some level of financing in man biodiversity activities. How should this work out for African countries?
It's very important. Biodiversity is something that we should take care of. And as I mentioned earlier, we have what we call some nature-based solution to tackle climate change issues. By using these nature-based solutions, we can at the same time contribute to the protection of the biodiversity. And I think this initiative is really very important.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Usman Falsa. Thank you so much for finding out time to share your thoughts with us on the program. Thank you for coming.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Still on climate change issues, Ghana has launched what it called Accelerated Siga Farming Program, designed to help farmers minimize climate change impact on crop production.
Climate change leads to drastic reduction in agricultural production as rainfall patterns become irregular and unpredictable. The ICRA project is designed to help guarantee food security by building resilience to climate change. SIGA Climate Research Africa is focused on bridging the gap between research institutes that bring improvement in technologies on one hand and development organizations that promote the adoption of improved technologies on the other. Ghana stands to benefit from the project as it is expected to improve the livelihoods of hundreds of thousands of farmers in the country. A representative of the World Bank, Mr. Lorenzo Carrera, said ICRA Ghana would expedite the use of climate-smart agricultural practices by developing apps for scaling water solutions to small-scale farmers in Ghana.
Investing in agriculture research and innovation and making it accessible to beneficiaries is critical to build resilience.
The country director of International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, Dr. Richard Asari, spoke about a One Health platform which will be used during the implementation of the project.
ICRA will promote an advanced climate-informed One Health innovation platform that builds on CGIAR's track records in this area, framing the nexus of crop, livestock, soil and water health for improved human and ecosystem health, food safety and nutrition, and climate change as a complex public health issue.
The Director General of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, Professor Victor Kwame Ajiman, noted that fostering public-private partnerships to provide customized climate service delivery models would help sustain the ICRA project. The 3-year project will focus on maize, cowpea, yam, sweet potato, and tomato technologies. Bono East, Central, Northern, Northeast, Oti, Savannah, Upper East, and Upper West regions will be the beneficiaries of the ICRA project.
Africa Weekly returns shortly with the Tidbits segment. Now, mangoes and citrus are two major fruits produced in abundance in Kenya. The country has now finalized export arrangements with Pakistan and Germany, where Kenya mangoes and citrus will be heading as export commodities.
Kenya is set to acquire new international mango markets after lifting its 2014 self-imposed mango ban. Kenya will start exporting mangoes to Pakistan in the next 2 weeks after the two countries finalized a trade deal. This even after Kenyan flagged orange imported from Pakistan on phytosanitary concerns.
Other crops we have intercepted at the point of entry is oranges which were coming from Pakistan because we had not signed an MOU with Pakistan.
The Pakistan market will be the latest market for Kenyan mangoes, with Kenya also eyeing the UK and Germany markets, where mango export modality talks with the two countries are at an advanced stage.
We are thinking of going for a mission in UK and Germany to be able to say these are mangoes which are all treated. They sample, they are able to do some analysis, and once they are satisfied, they will adopt that technology.
The development comes after Kenya successfully exported 5 tons of mangoes to Italy last month.
Plant health is the lifeline of our food systems. Yeah? Without controlling the pests, yeah? Even if you feed your crops, you make your soils very fertile, you cannot achieve the desired goals.
KEFIS is seeking more funds to heighten its plant health surveillance to ensure more Kenyan produce meets standards in key international markets.
The resources that we get from government, the resources have been declining over the years, for the last 5 years. We have come down from an allocation of 300 million to about 100 million.
And still in Kenya, the country trade officials are excited about its proposed participation in the forthcoming Expo 2020 in Dubai, a move expected to open up more trade opportunities for the country in the Middle East.
Dubai, which is regarded as a commercial and trading hub of the Middle East, has long been regarded as a gateway of trade between Kenya and the rest of the world. However, there is a huge trade imbalance in favor of the United Arab Emirates. Kenya's exports to the United Arab Emirates have been growing but in a fluctuating pattern over the last 5 years. This stood at $305 million in 2016 and $324 million in 2020. As such, Kenya plans to leverage on the Expo 2020 Dubai, scheduled for 1st October 2021 to 31st March in 2022 in Dubai, to boost exports. In a statement to newsrooms, Trade and Enterprise Development Cabinet Secretary Betty Maina noted, Expo 2020 Dubai will provide an opportunity for Kenya to diversify and consolidate its exports to the UAE and the Middle East. Key among the products are fruits, vegetables, coffee, tea, meat and meat products, logistics, flowers, edible nuts, tourism and sports services, among others. The expo will also present the possibility for Kenyan companies to consolidate market share in the UAE and also establish new distribution channels for the neighboring countries in the Middle East. Kenya is among 192 participating countries and will be leveraging on the expo to showcase trade and investment opportunities aligned to the Big Four development agenda: manufacturing, food security, universal health care, and affordable housing for all, under the theme Connecting Minds and Creating the Future.
And that's our package this week. And on behalf of the entire production team, I thank you so much for being a part of the program. My name is Justin Bemunyi.